But throwing Kendrick's wife in there, that's what he did against Pusha T, and he shouldn't have did that. I don't think he should have did that. Okay, we here. Meet the Grams. Lyrics explained. Bar breakdown. Now, I'm just gonna say right off the bat, there is gonna be a couple controversial things, and I took a lot of controversial things out just because the subject matters are criminal in nature, and I'm not doing that with people I don't know. None of this stuff is proven. I couldn't really find enough proof to validate some of the things that I think he alluded to, so I left it out. As far as the explanation is concerned, of course, we're gonna go through the whole record. I'm gonna talk about some of the bars. It's not very bar heavy, especially at the end. It's not super coded at the end. It's more straight talk as far as I can tell. So in doing it and doing it right and doing it justice, I have to try to be unbiased, and I also have to try to not run from certain things that he said. You know, give the explanation as I think he's trying to get it across. So we're gonna start with the definition of the name Graham. Now, one of the meanings for the name is literally a boy from the gray house. Of course, gray is the color when you mix black and white together. And this is what Kendrick is on. That's the Anglo-Saxon origin of the name. So the names is what he's going to be referring to and making reference to at the beginning of the record. So, for all those who've been yelling at me in the comments, meet the Grams. Lyrics explained, bar breakdown. Let's get to it.
Dear Adonis, I'm sorry that man is your father, let me be honest. It takes a man to be a man, your dad is not responsive. I look at him and wish your grandpa would a world condom. I'm sorry that you gotta grow up and then stand behind him. Life is hard, I know. The challenges always go beat us home. Sometimes our parents make mistakes that affect us until we grown. Hey.
Okay, so he starts with saying, Dear Adonis, I'm sorry that man is your father, let me be honest. It takes a man to be a man, your dad is not responsive. So I'm sorry that man is your father and your dad is not responsive comes from the mythos of Adonis, the Greek god. That is the origin of the name. Now the story goes that Adonis's mother was the daughter of a king and his wife or concubine, however you want to look at it. There's different stories. Now her mother bragged that she was more beautiful than the goddess Aphrodite, and therefore Aphrodite cursed the daughter, which is Adonis's mother, with insatiable lust for her father, the king. And she revealed this to her nurse, right? Normally they had nurses take care of the kids, right? This is a young girl. She's a princess. She tells the nurse that she likes her father. During a ceremony for the goddess Demeter, now Demeter is Virgo, think Virgo season, it's the beginning of the harvest season, right? So they were having a celebration during that time. The king, who is Adonis's mother's father, was passed out. So it's Adonis's grandfather was passed out from drinking wine at the party, and the nurse then brought his daughter to him because the mother wasn't there. So basically she told him that she was bringing him a maiden for him to be with, but it was actually his daughter. Now she lied about the name, and she just said that the girl was the same age as his daughter. And after that, the daughter left the room pregnant. The daughter is Adonis's mother. So Adonis's father is also his grandfather. So that's why Kendrick says, I'm sorry that man is your father and your dad is not responsive. And I wish that your grandpa wore a condom, because the father and the grandfather are the same person to Adonis. Now he's gonna bring that concept back in the verses later. The father and the grandfather being the same person to Adonis, or just being the same person. Now also, when he says sometimes our parents make mistakes that affect us until we grown. That, of course, is also alluding to that story. Yep, this is the kind of lyrical breakdown this is gonna be. So let's continue.
Just until we grown, and you're a good kid that need good leadership. Let me be your mentor, since your daddy don't teach you shit. Never.
Okay, now mentor reference. Mentor is also a person from ancient Roman mythology, Greek mythology. He was the friend of Odysseus. When Odysseus went to the Trojan War, he became in charge of Odysseus's son, and Odysseus was known for being knowledgeable, but when he came back from the Trojan War, he was not able to impart his knowledge upon his son, even though his son wished to seek knowledge from his father, but due to various circumstances. Look, Greek mythology is very all over the place. If you're some kind of Greek mythologist expert, that's fine. I'm not trying to be totally exact here because I got to move through these bars. So that's the daddy don't teach you shit part. Let's continue.
But let a man piss on your leg, son. Either you die right there or pop that man in the head, son. Never fall in the escort business, that's bad religion. Please remember, you could be a bitch even if you got bitches.
Okay, a regular reference. All right. So allegedly, Drake was peed on at the movie premiere. Or Meek Mill already said this in his diss towards Drake. He was peed on by, I think, one of T.I.'s friends at the movie theater accidentally. And yeah, I don't know why he didn't do anything about that or what happened, but that's the story. He was peed on. And the never fall in the escort business, I think just that's bad religion. I think just alludes to Drake's infatuation with stripper culture and escort culture allegedly. And that's bad religion. You could be a bad bee even when you got bad bees. And that's that. Okay, there's religions that support that kind of duality. Okay. So, no gender kind of thing. See, I'm not trying to get into all of this, but there's a lot of symbolism of certain religions that support prostitution in entertainment and videos and things like that. They've been in Drake's videos. Let's move on.
A code switch, whether right or wrong. You're a black man, even if it don't benefit your goals. Do some push-ups, get some discipline. Don't cut them corners like your daddy did. Fuck what Ozempic did. Don't pay to play with them Brazilians.
Okay, if you're African American, you should know what code switching is. That's when you have to change who you are to fit in a majority society. So it's like straightening your hair, changing your voice, kind of like what I'm doing now, during this video. That's code switching. So he's telling, that's again talking about Drake's identity problems with his racial background. Even if it don't benefit your goals, do some push-ups. Of course, that's a reference straight to the song Push-Ups. That Drake doesn't actually do push-ups, but he made a song called Push-Ups, which is that's weird. Don't cut them corners like your daddy did. Fuck what Ozempic did, right? Don't pay to play with them Brazilians. Get a gym membership. Now, this is layered to me because, first of all, okay, in Brazil, plastic surgery and dietary drugs is rampant. And that's no shot at Brazil. BBL stands for what? Okay. Now, also, a lot of Americans go to Brazil for prostitution. We're going to call it what it is. So that's harkening back to the escort business bar as well. Shout out to the passport bros and all of those types of gentlemen. Let's continue.
Get a gym membership. Understand, no throwing rocks and hiding hands. That's law. Don't be ashamed about who you with. That's how he treats your moms. Don't have a kid to hide again. Be sure. 5% will comprehend, but 95 is lost.
Okay, so he's speaking to the duality of Drake's image, so to speak, right? So no throwing rocks and hiding hands. So Drake has kind of appeared at times to try to be a champion of women and righteousness and morality and things like that. But then he goes into don't be ashamed about who you with. That's how he treats your moms. Now he's speaking to, now his mother was an adult model. He's speaking to Drake probably being ashamed of that and having a kid by her and then hiding the kid to hide again, be sure. 5% will comprehend, 95 is lost. So he's basically writing to let us know that 5% of us will pick up what he just said and 95% won't understand what he's saying, which is what he reveals in the last verse.
Who you are, your strength come from within. A lot of superstars, that's real, but your daddy ain't one of them. And you nothing like him, you'll carry yourself as king. Can't understand me right now, just play this when you 18.
Okay, so of course the carry yourself as king is a harken back to his name, Adonis, in the story I just told you. Then at the end where he says, just play this when you're 18. Now, of course, he could be saying 18 when you're a grown man, or just play this when you're a teen, as in teenager. And we know what that reference is. Let's keep it going.
Dear Sandra, your son got some habits, I hope you don't undermine them. Especially with other girls that's hurt inside this climate. You're a woman, so you know how it feels to be in alignment with emotions, hoping a man can see you and not be blinded. Dear Dennis.
Okay, so he's continuing with the names, and this one I recognize pretty easily because Sandra is a version of the name Alexandra, which of course is the female version of Alexander, which is what Lex is short for. So, if you ever seen the movie Troy, you'll understand or know some of this. Alexander the Great was seen to have a few problems. One, that of being on a power trip constantly, which made for him to be undermined by those who were under him, and they couldn't wait for him to be relieved of being the ruler of Greece. Now, his mother, Olympia, depending on which story you believe, is said to have fostered these habits instead of try to sort of put him in check. So she kind of is the reason he was out of control. Again, that depends on what story you believe about Alexander the Great. He also saw himself as gender fluid, both man and woman at the same time. So when Kendrick says, "You a woman, so you know what it feels to be in alignment with emotion, hoping a man can see you and not be blinded." Now, Alexander the Great was also blinded, or at least partially blinded, in the Battle of Serapolis. He was also a womanizer, and his army was very, it was Greek, it was culture at the time, was kind of hard on females. So that's the girls hurt inside this climate bar. Yeah, let's continue.
Dear Dennis, you gave birth to a master manipulator. Even using you to prove who he is a huge favor. I think you should ask for more paper and more paper and more.
Okay, so in the next part, first, the more paper. The only thing I can come up with is that he's referencing More Life. And on the cover of More Life is Drake's father's Dennis. And I don't know, he's writing something on a piece of paper, but I think he's just referencing More Life. Now, he's using more and more and more because Dennis, the name, he's still sticking with the names and where they come from. Dennis, the name Dennis comes from the god Dionysus. Dionysus is the god of wine and parties and debauchery and doing too much, basically. And that's going to explain the next part coming up. Let's continue.
I'm blaming you for all his gambling addictions, psychopath intuition, the man that liked to play victim. You raised a horrible fucking person. The nerve of you, Dennis. Sandra, sit down. What I'm about to say is heavy. Now listen. Your son's a sick man with sick thoughts. I think niggas like him should die. Him and Weinstein should get fucked up in a cell for the rest of their life. He hates black women, hypersexualize them with kinks of an info fetish. Grew facial hair because he understood being the beard just fit him better.
Okay, we're going to stop it right there. Okay, first he said he grew facial hair because he feels like being a beard just fit him better. Now, a beard is another word for someone who basically conceals another person's sexuality by being in a relationship with them, but sometimes it's also that person is one and the same. So it's somebody who can, basically it's about concealing someone's true sexuality. Now, the descriptions he uses in the first part. Now, some of them are just general and to get the point across, but Drake's name is Aubrey. Aubrey comes from, long story short, it means elf king, and the mythology of the elf king is, and the elves in general, is just one, they can be good or bad. It can represent wisdom and magical powers. Now, the owl also represents wisdom, OVO, but a lot of times in many stories, they use those magical powers to manipulate people. That's where the master manipulator part comes in. And all the things that Kendrick kind of names there. If you look up Earl King, E-R-L King, you'll get where he's going with that. Those things are all associated with Drake's name.
He got sex offenders on Hovio that he keep on a monthly allowance. A child should never be compromised, and he keeping his child around him. And we gotta raise our daughters knowing there's predators like him lurking. Fuck a rap battle, he should die so all of these women can live with a purpose.
Okay, to wrap all of that up. Okay, Drake's, one of his monikers is October's Own for OVO, right? October's Own, October's Very Own. There's two astrological symbols and Greek gods that are associated with October. That is Aphrodite, who is Venus in the sign Libra, and Hades, who is Pluto in the sign Scorpio. Aphrodite represents manipulation And for lack of a better term, to make a long story short, Hades represents persecution of women, entrapment, all of those kind of things, and greed as well. So when you wrap all of that up, October Zone, all of those things fit. Let's continue.
I've been in this industry 12 years. I'ma tell y'all one little secret. There's some weird shit going on, and some of these artists be here to police it. They be streamlining victims all inside of their home and calling them tender. Then leak videos of themselves to further push their agendas. To any woman that be playing this music, know that you're playing your sister. Or better yet, selling your niece. To the weirdos, not the good ones. Cat Williams, I give you the truth, so I'ma get mines. The embassy about to get raided too. It's only a matter of time.
Okay. And leak videos of themselves to further push their agendas. I think what he's suggesting there is that Drake released that video of himself, you know, the little OnlyFans video, as well as I think he's dressing the sex tapes in general that come out of Hollywood to further push their agenda, so that to just kind of influence people in maybe in the wrong direction. Because that's when he says to any woman, when you playing his music, you know you playing your sister. Again, it's more of he's suggesting grooming, for lack of a better term, through music, through social media, through the leaked tapes, through everything. So it can be viewed, especially when exposed to young people, as a form of behavioral manipulation. So he's saying allegedly that Drake could possibly be a part of something like that. Let's continue.
Dear baby girl, I'm sorry that your father not active inside your world. He don't commit to much but his music, yeah, that's for sure. He a narcissist, misogynist, living inside his songs. Try to destroy families rather than taking care of his own.
Okay, so there he's just basically hitting at all the public scandals Drake has had and explaining to his daughter, I guess, that his main character flaw is focusing too much on fame. And then he mentions Drake, instead of focusing on his own family, trying to destroy other families. I think that's a mark to Drake accusing Kendrick allegedly of domestic abuse, and the whole thing with his child and Dave Free and the manager, all the angles that Drake is taking towards shots at Kendrick's image of a family man, or as a family man. Let's continue.
Be teaching you timetables or watching Frozen with you, or at your 11th birthday singing poems with you. Instead he being Turks, paying for sex and popping perks, examples that you don't deserve. I want to tell you that you're loved, you're brave, you're kind. You got a gift to change the world and can change your father's mind. Cause our children is the future, but he lives inside confusion. Money's always been illusion, but that's the life he's used to. His father probably didn't claim him neither. History do repeats itself, sometimes it don't need a reason. But I would like to say it's not your fault that he's hiding another child. Give him grace, this the reason I made Mr. Morale, so our babies like you can cope later. Give you some confidence to go through something, it's hope later. I never want to hear you chasing man, cause it's felt behavior. Sitting in the club with sugar daddies for validation. You need to know that love is eternity and trumps all pain. I tell you who your father is, just play this song when it rains. Yes, he's a hit maker, songwriter, superstar, right? And a fucking dead beat that should never say more life. Meet the Grams.
Okay, now of course the last line, More Life, is Drake's album, like I said about earlier, that featured his father on the cover. So it's kind of a double there, where he's tying both fathers together. Like in the beginning, of course, the story of Adonis, the Greek Adonis, not Drake's son Adonis, of course.
Dear Hybrid, I know you probably thinking I wanted to crash your party, but truthfully I don't have a hating bone in my body. This supposed to be a good exhibition within the game, but you fucked up the moment you called out my family's name. Why you had...
Okay, so he starts out with Dear Harbry. You know, he's doing the same thing he did in Euphoria with the Joel Osteen line, where he's mixing up the names, mixing two names together. So he's kind of calling him Harvey, as in, of course, Harvey Weinstein. He already made that reference earlier in the record. I know you're probably thinking I wanted to crash your party. Harvey Weinstein used to assault his victims either at his parties or after the parties. That's normally where his transgressions took place. So that's why he says, I know you think I wanted to crash your party.
The stoop so low to discredit some decent people. Guess integrity is lost when the metaphors doesn't reach you. And I like to understand, cause your house was never a home. 37, but you showing up as a 7-year-old. Okay,
so he's referring to Drake calling out Whitney's name in his first response, I guess, the first diss that really started this, besides like that. Integrity is lost when the metaphors doesn't reach you, meaning when you can't rhyme, you can't come up with things that are good, you just go low and start mentioning people's family. And he did that against Pusha T at the end of the song, and he did it, and I said it, that's what I played at the beginning of this video, when he did it in push-ups. It was unnecessary. Then I'd like to understand, because your house was never a home, 37, but you're still showing up as a 7-year-old. Now, the 7-year, that's not accurate. I think what he's saying is you're still trapped in that child who was left by his father. Now, it was 5 years old when Drake was left by his father, but I think that's what he's saying. He's just using the number 7 because Drake is 37 years old. That's the only thing I come up with valid. That makes sense there. But let's continue. It's about to get dirty.
Got gambling problems, drinking problems, pill popping and spending problems, bad with money, whorehouse, soliciting women problems. Therapy's a lovely start, but I suggest some ayahuasca, strip the ego from the bottom.
Okay, that last line, he pauses for a reason when he says, but I suggest some ayahuasca, strip the ego from the bottom. Okay, because what he's saying there is you already used to using drugs and dealing with strippers and escorts, so therapy's probably not for you. You probably should use a different drug, and that will help you strip your ego from the bottom. And depending on what club you go to, they do strip off their bottoms at the club. Let's continue.
I try to empathize with you, cause I know that you ain't been through nothing. Crave entitlement, but wanna be like so bad that it's puzzling. No dominance. Let's recap moments when you didn't fit in. No secret handshakes with your friend. No culture cachet to binge. Just disrespecting your mother. Identities on the fence. Don't know which family will love you. The skin that you living in is compromised in personas. Can't channel your masculine even when standing next to a woman.
So he sets up the rest with the first line. I try to empathize with you because I know you ain't been through nothing. So basically, you know, every instance that he now continues to name is basically describing Drake being a spoiled child, right? Then the skin you living in is compromised in personas. Can't channel your masculine even when standing in front of a woman. So you're so spoiled because you don't have an identity, because you couldn't fit in, not only because of your mixed heritage, but because you also come from a broken home. I mean, this is dirty work, but this is where the battle is now. It's a little rough. Let's continue.
You a body shamer. You go hide them baby mamas, ain't you? You embarrassed of them. That's not right. That ain't how mama raised us. Take that mask off. I wanna see what's under them achievements. Why believe you? You never gave us nothing to believe in.
Okay, you a body shamer. You gonna hide them baby mamas, ain't you? It sounds like it's just straight talk, and it is in a way, but body shamer. So you're ashamed of all these people. You're ashamed of the baby mamas. You're ashamed of the children. But your mother wasn't ashamed of you. She didn't do the same thing to you. Then he speaks to how Drake approaches his career in that he doesn't really ever speak to any issues. You know what I'm saying? So you never gave us nothing to believe in because you wear a mask. You know, you're kind of cosplaying a little bit as a true artist and a member of this culture because your intentions can only be self-serving due to how you came up and who you are. Let's continue.
Cause you lied about religious views. You lied about your surgery. You lied about your accent and your past tense. All is perjury. You lied about your ghost riders. You lied about your crew members. They all pussy. You lied on them. I know they all got you in them. You lied about your son. You lied about your daughter, huh? You lied about them other kids that's out there hoping that you come. You lied about the only artist that can offer you some help. Fuck a rap battle. This a long life battle with yourself.
Okay, so at the end there, when he says that, forget a rap battle, it's a long life battle with yourself. This could have been the last track Kendrick planned to release. So maybe it is over. Yeah, I don't know. Tuesday is still coming. If he doesn't drop on Tuesday, which is tomorrow, then I think it's probably over. And I ain't gonna say it needs to be over, but it needs to be toned down a little bit. Because I'm gonna be honest, doing this one was difficult, and I'm sure doing the Heart Part 6 is not gonna be as difficult because it's not as long and intense. But at the same time, he's saying a lot in there that's just unnecessary, really. Like, because there were references in this that I left out, things he could have been referencing. But anyway, it's your boy, Professor Lex. Like, share, subscribe. Thank y'all for being patient. This was a rough one. But we out. Peace.